قل بفضل الله وبرحمته فبذلك فليفرحوا هو خير مما يجمعون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I hope you're well. I think we should also make dua for the translator of this particular edition of the Buddha, Khala Aziza, Spiker, who is like my second mother, and she did a wonderful job in translating the Buddha. For a person who's not a scholar nor an expert in the Arabic language, you can ask anybody who's versed in Arabic, and they'll definitely agree that it's absolutely brilliant and very accurate translation of the Buddha. Now, chapter 9 is the second time Imam Busiri mentions the word Muhammad in the entire poem. The first time is chapter 3, where it's related to the Prophet ﷺ, and the second time in this chapter where he talks about himself. And this is a habit of the poets when they're talking about the beloved, that they tend not to ever mention the name of the beloved in the Nasib tradition. But this is the second time he mentions it. This first line, is actually in relation to his life before praising the Prophet ﷺ. He worked as a clerk for some time, a government job, as an administrator of some sort, and but he was very poor, Imam Busiri, incredibly poor, and he had, I think, many children as well, and he found it difficult to support them. And also he's often in some of the biographies it mentions that it soured kind of the relationship in his house as well with his wife. So he would go to praise leaders and they would pay him money for it. And it was actually one of these moments that changed him. And we have to accept, however, that Imam Busiri, we're not inferring in any way that he was a bad person or person didn't pray salah. He was still a good person, but he wasn't essentially what we know him as. And when he went to praise one of these leaders, he found that a man had visited that leader, an old man. His name is unknown actually. I tried to trace it, but I couldn't find it. And the man asked Imam al-Busiri a question. In fact, he should be Imam Busiri, but it's Lughat al-Awam, it's Busiri when you say. Okay. And he asked him, he said to him, هَلْ رَأَيْتَ النَّبِيَّ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ لَيْلَةً? Did you see the Prophet last night? That's the question he asked him. And a very odd question to ask somebody. Why last night, or why any night? Or normally you'd say, have you ever seen the Prophet before? He replied, no. And he said, when I got home, I realized that for the first time in my life, I yearned to see the Prophet. And he said, so in that night I saw the Prophet. And after that, he began to write the poem. What's really interesting is that he never actually wrote it according to any version of the story I've read. He never actually documented the poem. The poem was in his mind essentially. He had composed it in his mind, remember. And when he did finally write it, the one copy was preserved, and it was only released later. One of the leaders had, Haji Khalifa mentions, he had the only copy of it, and then it became famous much after, which kind of relates to the story of his teacher Abu Abbas al-Mursi. The story goes that one day he was, 3 students were with the Shaykh. Abu Abbas al-Mursi was with 3 students. One was Imam al-Busiri, the other was Al-Izz ibn Abdul Salam, and the third was Ibn Ita al-Iskandari. And Abu Abbas al-Mursi said that their teacher, the Shaykh, said to Ibn Ita that God will give you much wisdom, and he, the famous author of the Hikam. And he said to Al-Izz, God will make you the Sultan, and he became the Sultan al-Ulama, the greatest scholar of Egypt of his time. It's so great that when the Mamluks came, he refused to give them allegiance because they were slaves. And he said, until the people free you, I'm not going to give you allegiance. And they said, well, don't. He said, I'm going tomorrow. He said, go then. And they said when he walked out, packed his bags, the whole of Egypt walked with him. until they begged him to reconsider. And the third was Busiri, and Imam Abu Abbas al-Mursi rahimahullah said, God will make your poetry famous throughout the world. And his poetry is more famous than the Sahaba's poetry, which is incredible. In this chapter, he essentially begs the Prophet ﷺ to consider him on the Day of Judgment. And there's really an important line in it. إن لم يكن في معاد آخذ بيدي فضلا وإلا فقل يا زلة القدم. The end part, the last part of that line, out of pure kindness, they just say what a terrible end, but actually the Arabic literally means something else. Ya zallat al-qadami means, it means in Arabic for your foot to slip, i.e. that if the Prophet ﷺ does not intercede for us on the Day of Judgment, it's as if your feet will slip into off the bridge into the hellfire. The last, this chapter, we can say a lot, but this chapter is the introduction to the last chapter. And this chapter has also some parts related to the first chapter. For instance, he says, يا خسارة نفس في تجارتها لم تشتري دينا بالدنيا ولم تصومي. Alas for a soul that has met with only loss in its transactions, it did not use this world to help secure the next, nor even to embark upon negotiations. And he's talking about himself, to himself, about himself. But the reality is, Busiri's maqam was very, very high. And he had become very ill at this point. He was close to death, actually. And it just shows the inkisar of a real faqir, the lowliness and the humility of a true man of God. But I think some people in Quilliam should read this line and reconsider the business of government. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وإمام المرسلين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال جل وعلا في كتابه المبين هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. بسم الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been given a very difficult topic. To be absolutely honest with you, I would have preferred not talking because I talk most days. So it's not really day off. I'm sure there are better people that could probably talk to me as well in Birmingham. Shaykh Sjaad Hussain as well. So I think I'm just a faulty backup, I think. So, but we're here now. I just want to introduce the topic. The topic that was given to me was Rasul al-Mu'allim alayhi salatu wasalam, the Prophet as a teacher. It's very difficult to relate the topic to kind of any practical to make the topic practical is very, very difficult because certain things are easy, but the majority of things are incredibly difficult because they're related to miracles of the Prophet ﷺ. However, those few things that we do have are enough for us to try to practice, inshallah. Now, we live in difficult times, and I want to start this with kind of giving my observations of what I think is currently what state we're living in. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that Imam al-Bazanji mentions about the Day of Judgment, and the hadith is the Day of Judgment will not come until the person who does not speak will speak. Now there are many different meanings to the hadith, but one of the meanings of the hadith is possible. One of the meanings is a person that generally doesn't get a platform that will receive a platform to speak, which can mean the internet maybe or something of that kind. And the reason I mention that is because there's another hadith that Imam Bazanji mentions in the same section that the Day of Judgment will not come until there be kathrat al-khutbah, like a lot of public speakers. And public speaking, that's what I want to begin with, is something alien to our tradition. We don't have any tradition of public speaking except for the Jumu'ah, the wa'ad in the Jumu'ah. And there's something very, very important. The Salaf, the early generations, the early generations, they were very careful in giving wa'ad, because wa'ad is admonition, and to admonish somebody or preach, you have to be a particular spiritual status or rank. What they did do is that they taught, and all of the Salaf, the early generations, one of their distinct qualities was that they were teachers, from Imam Malik to Zuhri, Al-Hammad, Ibn Nakhai, Abu Hanifa, rahimullah. So they were all great teachers, and it's not going to say it right. And it's a sign of the Day of Judgment actually that teachers are disappearing now. And there are many reasons for that. But we also have people who don't want to study anymore. People want to be entertained, and this religion was not a religion of entertainment. It's a religion of practice, amal, and a religion of spiritual training, which is slowly disappearing. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the famous hadith where he said that the Day of Judgment will not come until a man nurtures his puppy, a dog, better than he would nurture his own child. And we've reached a time where teachers are very far and few between. I mean, look at the education system in this country. People do a PGC just as a backup option, just so that they definitely get a job. And it's not the same as the 80s and 90s. So teaching is slowly disappearing. And the Prophet ﷺ was, Ar-Rasul al-Mu'allim, was essentially the greatest teacher that God ever created. I want to just share some narrations in relation to the Prophet ﷺ being a teacher that are mentioned by Shaykh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda in his famous book, The Messenger, the Teacher. First and foremost, the Prophet ﷺ was incredibly gentle, and he didn't ever in his life scold anybody. He would become angry sometimes for the sake of Allah, and we'll mention those points inshallah. And he said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, إن الله لم يبعثني معنتا ولا متعنتا ولكن بعثني معلما ميسرا. Allah did not send me as a... Now, mu'annit is a very difficult word to translate, but essentially it means one who causes distress to another person, a mu'annit, or somebody who forces another person to do something. God did not send me as that. Rather, He sent me as a teacher that makes things easy for people. Muyassir, makes things easy for people. And that's something very important. The religion has become incredibly rigid, and we don't give people opportunity to rectify themselves. And I think it's a very big problem. The Prophet ﷺ warned people from extremism. I'm not talking in the governmental sense of radicalization. I'm just talking of being extreme in even what we assume to be or think our religion is. When we start to practice, we become incredibly extreme, such that not on ourselves, on other people, that we superimpose our own pseudo-spiritual state on other people. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the Day of Judgment will not come until piety is manufactured, sannu'an, it's manufactured, and we unfortunately live in those times. But he, alayhi salatu wasalam, regardless of whatever the state of the person was very easy towards him. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, in a famous dua, and now I want to talk a little about what the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam would engage in and what he wouldn't engage in. He said, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. Oh Allah, I beseech you and I ask you to protect me from knowledge that does not benefit. من قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع وتشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب له أو لها. That he would constantly make dua that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, causes for him to engage in that only which is beneficial. Now, what this means essentially is the Prophet ﷺ disliked argumentation, and the following hadith will show that. We live in an age where we argue a lot about everything, football or cricket or groups, and the greatest or the biggest fitna that we're facing, and my own observation is people are discussing matters of the religion when they have literally no knowledge or right to discuss those things. especially in theology. And I want to mention a hadith for that, because the Prophet ﷺ, they say, would not become angry, except once he walked into a gathering and the companions were discussing a qadar, predestiny, and they say that he became so angry that they could see in his face, and he said, "Is this the reason that God sent me to you, to argue about this? Is this what would benefit you?" And they immediately stopped. Why? Because they were engaging in something, they were giving their own opinions about particular verses. But the point is that the Prophet ﷺ wanted them to be practical about their knowledge, not necessarily arguing amongst themselves about things that essentially the Prophet ﷺ did not want them to engage in. But he became quite angry about it. Why? Because it's a very delicate matter, the matter of qadar, destiny or predestiny, and matters related to theology. And unfortunately, as the Prophet ﷺ prophesied about young people being extreme in religion, we have exactly that now, where people don't have wisdom and they scare other people away and they speak without any knowledge, unfortunately. The Prophet ﷺ said, or rather he alayhi salatu wasalam, would not involve himself in three things. The first of them was mira, which is argumentation. The second, al-ikthar, he would not indulge the Prophet ﷺ to an extent where it was considered extreme or wasteful, and that's both in food and in speech. Alayhi salatu wasalam. He talked very little. And the third, he did not get involved in that which did not concern him. And he did not involve himself in relation to people in three things. Number one, كَانَ لَا يُظُلْمُ أَحَدًا. He would never ever dispraise somebody, say bad things about a person. وَلَا يَعِيبُهُ, nor would he make, nor would he point out anybody's defects. وَلَا يَطْلُبُ عَوْرَاتَهُ, and this one's very, very important. He would never ever pry into people's private matters unless they mention them to him, which is incredibly important, because that's all we do. We tend to always want to know what people are doing in their private lives, or information that other people don't have, you see, just so that we can form an opinion about people. But he alayhi salatu wasallam never ever involved himself in people's private matters unless they mentioned them to him, and if they did, he would not tell anybody about them, alayhi salatu wasallam. Now, however, he alayhi salatu wasallam was incredibly involved in people's conversations. In the hadith it states that يَضْحَقُ مِمَّا يَضْحَقُونَ, that he would laugh with those people who laughed, i.e. or smile with those who smiled. That if people came into his gathering or his presence, or he was in their presence, i.e. they were already sitting there, whatever they were discussing, he would let them continue, and he would involve himself in their conversation. What that shows is that talking about the dunya isn't all bad, because the hadith also states that if they were talking about dunya, he would talk to them about dunya. And this is the message of God, the greatest of God's creation, that he would also engage in discussion about the dunya. Again, a problem with becoming extremely pseudo-pious, or having pseudo-piety rather, where we assume that being pious means that we tell everybody how pious we are, or how much we know. But he would actually engage with them about normal things, about camels, and about what they did in their daily lives. And وَيَتَعَجَّبُ مِمَّا يَتَعَجَّبُونَ مِنْهُ. And there's a secret in this point. He would seem amazed by that which they would seem amazed, i.e. or he would almost engage with them, even if he may have not seen it to be strange. He would engage with them on that level, in that he would not want to, if you're sitting in a group and somebody says something and they think, oh wow, and everybody looks at them like, you'd never do that to them. He would also engage like the ajib, the Yemenis. That's the most used word in Yemen, the word ajib. They're always using it, miskin and ajib. Everything, even is normal to say ajib, like, maybe something's going on in the water there, something blessed. There's a famous hadith of a woman who had a mental illness, and this is really interesting, this hadith, and it shows the Prophet ﷺ's interaction with people that were mentally ill. And the Rawi or the narrator states that he was Anas ibn Malik, he was a young boy and he was observing this whole event. And he says that there was a woman in Imra'atan kana fi aqliha shay', and she was mentally, there was something wrong with her. And she came to the Prophet ﷺ that when mentally ill people, when we know somebody's mentally ill, often we're quite, we distance ourselves from them, we don't engage with them the same as we engage with other people, when what they actually need probably is our time and love. And so she came to him and she said, Ya Rasulullah, inni li ilayka haja. She said, I would need that. I need you for something. I need to talk to you. And he didn't say to her, because she probably, she probably didn't need anything at all. She was just saying it. She was wanting the Prophet's time maybe. Or she may have been in a particular mental state at that time. And he said, Ya Fulan. He said, Unzuri ayya sakak. He said, go and tell me where you want to talk to me. So to go find a place, like a sakak is like a pathway, somewhere confidential. Yeah, somewhere private, and wait there for me. So she went, and in the commentary of this hadith, it's incredible because the commentator says that the Prophet sat down on the floor, which is incredible because when you're standing up, it seems like you're in a rush, you see, but no, he sat down. And she sat down and said, now tell me what you're... So he gave her his full attention and full time to do whatever, to ask whatever she wanted to ask. And he says that ask essentially what you want, and until you've said what you want to say, I listen to you. And this is incredible because this is a woman that has no status in society. She has no status. She's a woman as well. Which is incredible because you would think the way that we've made the Prophet that women were, he was unapproachable. But the hadith I think is Abdullah ibn Abbas, that a woman came to the Prophet and she was very beautiful, and she came and I think it was Abdullah ibn Abbas or Anas ibn Malik. I hope they don't hold it against me on the Day of Judgment because this may be problematic. It was one of them, I think Abdullah ibn Abbas, and he's very young. So this woman came and she's very beautiful, and she's talking to the Prophet and he's looking up at her. So the Prophet moves his head like this, and there's not so much. He moves his head, and then moves his hand back, and then he moves his head again. He was a young teenager.
I'm trying to say, yeah.
So until in one narration, the Prophet holds his head and keeps it there, which shows you that women came and they asked the Prophet questions without a problem. But the fact that we sometimes think, if the Prophet were here, how would we interact with him? Would he give us time? Or he would give time to everybody, young children, people who have mental illnesses. And not only did he give them time, but he let them fulfill their need, whatever they had to ask until they were finished. And what's incredible is that nobody disturbed them. This is the Prophet in Medina al-Munawwara. The Sahaba are not what we know now, religious people. Shaykh comes, everybody's trying to cling on, and the Sahaba would know that this is the Prophet's space, and he wants to give this person time, and they would actually take people to the message of God for guidance. We take people away from Shuyukh, so we get more time, but they would take people to the Prophet so that they may be guided, because they are benefited and they benefit every single day. Now, one important and great characteristic of the Prophet was the fact that he always would keep the Sahaba interested, and he would never allow them to become, they would never become bored with the message of God ﷺ, but he is our Rasul al-Mu'allim, and this is something very important as a principle in Sirah, in Fiqh Sirah, that if the Prophet ﷺ does something, he's only doing it essentially to teach us. You see, so in those narrations that state that he wouldn't talk for too long lest the Sahaba became bored, it doesn't mean that. He's just telling us that we shouldn't speak for so long lest people just become disinterested with whatever we're trying to say, or we shouldn't extend our speech too much. So in a famous narration of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and this is really interesting, and it's actually for anybody who teaches or is a public speaker, even though I've gunned them at the beginning, I don't mean to. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud would teach, and he was an incredible teacher, and he's essentially the founder of the Hanafi school to a large degree, because he's the grand teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala. And so he would teach at a particular place, and a man approached him and he said to him that, look, inna nuhibbu hadithak wa nashtahi. He said, we love it when you speak and we yearn for it. So, and he used to teach once a week. He would teach once a week. So wouldn't it be possible that you should teach every day? And he said that I have no problem in teaching every day, except that I fear that I'm going to bore you, and I don't want to bore you, because. And he mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ saying that be very careful of the people becoming disinterested with you. And this reminds me, the Burda. I was teaching the Burda once a month. It stopped now, but it's inshallah it will start again soon. And somebody said we should teach it every week. And I remind everybody, in 2007 or 8, I did teach it every week. And in the first lesson there were loads of people. And in the following lessons, I think we finished the khatam after 14 months. And we were 15 people or something. Because people can't take that level of... they can't keep interested with the text that's so difficult, and people essentially want to, just a little bit is enough for them. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Habul a'mali illallahi adwamuha wa in qalla." The most beloved acts to God are those which are consistent, even if they're very, very little. I just want to close up on this topic now. I don't want to just maybe a few more minutes. Practically, one thing that we need to do, inshallah, for myself and for everybody else, is that we need to all be teachers, and we are all teachers to somebody, if they are children, young people younger than us, and we need to have mercy with students, be they our children, our brothers, our sisters. If they're learning something from us, if it's in life, ask my dad once, ask him if he went to college, I didn't go to college, but I went to the college of life, and it's really interesting because there's a very good college. Googled it, but I couldn't find it. And what's interesting and what's really important is that we have mercy in this day and age. We're not too tough with people. It's rich coming from me, if you ask some of the students in the class. But that's behind closed doors. I mean, but generally we should be soft. But as students as well, we need to have consistency. Although teaching, we talked about the Prophet as a teacher, but look who graduated from that madrasa. I mean, do you think there were people who just wasted their time? They were serious people, because they knew the Prophet would leave them at a particular time. And the famous hadith Mu'adh ibn Jabal, an incredible story. The Prophet walks Mu'adh ibn Jabal out of Medina Munawwara. He walks him out, and they get to the outskirts, and the Prophet says to him that I'm sending you to Yemen. The famous narration is related to that when he asked him about giving the fatwa. And he said something really incredible to Mu'adh ibn Jabal. He said, this is my advice to you. He gave him some advice, and he said, because I fear that I will not see you again. Now when the Messenger of God ﷺ says that, it means you will not see the Messenger of God again. What's incredible about the story is Mu'adh ibn Jabal began to weep, profusely weep, and the Prophet ﷺ, with a strong hand, took his arm, and he said, Ya Mu'adh, there are times to cry, and there are times to be a man. And this is a time to be a man. This is the time to be a man, not to cry. Meaning, I'm sending you for a reason. And that's really, really important, because even though the Prophet ﷺ could see that he was very upset, he had to encourage him to be strong in that situation, and that he had a task ahead of him, even though it would be the absence of the Prophet ﷺ when he would return, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. And that's incredible, because there's the mercy to mankind, but yet he's giving stern advice to Mu'adh ibn Jabal to be strong. And we've lost that in ourselves in this day and age. We've lost that kind of want for learning about Allah and the Prophet ﷺ, and it's going to become more difficult for us. They're inspecting, or soon to inspect people homeschool now. Get ready. It's very difficult times, and what's happening now is related to an incredible hadith that Imam Barzanji narrates in his book on the Day of Judgment, that states that a time will come close to, or the day of Jumu'ah will not come until a believer is hidden, just like a hypocrite is hidden in our times. And then he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that a believer will walk by a particular place and see evil, but will not be able to do anything about it, such that it will eat away inside of him. Meaning he just will not be able to do anything anymore. And the greatest ones on that day are the patient ones that wait for God's victory. And that's really important, to be patient, but to kind of yearn for the Prophet ﷺ. And this month is blessed, and for us to read. I think this one of the greatest aspects of this month is it kind of recharges us if we've forgotten for 11 months. And this is one of the reasons that Sayyid Muhammad ibn Ali al-Maliki states that the Prophet ﷺ was born in this month. He says, why was he not born in Muharram? Muharram is a famous month where a lot of great miracles took place. The Fath, the great opening of Sayyidina Musa, is different what happened, but the Tawbah of Sayyidina Adam, all this took place in Muharram or Dhul Hijjah, a great month. Why Rabi? Rabi is a month that the Arabs don't care about. There's nothing interesting that happened in Rabi in history. And Sayyid Muhammad ibn Ali states it's because the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected it specifically and only for the Prophet that he would not share, or nobody would share with him in that month his birth or anything else, that when you mention the month he will be known. So inshallah, tawfiq, and we make dua that Allah guides us and makes us good students and good khadama, good servants of the religion. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله.